For most of this decade, Gask has rubbed shoulders with royalty at England's most prestigious race carnival, going within a whisker of claiming one of the feature Group 1 sprints. But with the Royal Ascot Carnival continuing on Friday night, the 45-year-old trainer is feeling the same mix of nerves and excitement about saddling up his first starter at Sydney's most famous racetrack when Tim's principal contests the $60,000 Tab Highway 1,200 meters. Gask, who now calls Scone home after training in England for more than 10 years, was hoping to make a winning debut in Sydney racing with Tim's principal, who was among the favourites for the Randwick race before he was scratched on Friday. Tim's principal gave Gask his first winner back in Australia at the Gosford Provincials on May 31. The trainer had a double that day when Spirit of Elijah also scored, and then ran a close third at Dubbo last week. Tim's principal has won twice, and had 7 placings from his 11 starts, but he has never been exposed to a rain-affected track. But after his scratching, his city debut will have to wait for another day. Gask's professional career has taken an unusual path. The former South Australian was a promising Aussie rules player and earned selection in the 1990 All-Australian Teal Cup Under-18s team, in which his teammates included future AFL champions Anthony Koutafidis, Gavin Wanganeen and Glenn Jakovich. However, injury prematurely ended Gask's footy career, so he followed his other ambition, to become a racehorse trainer. Gask quickly rose through the South Australian training ranks, preparing more than 200 winners before he was offered an opportunity to train in England in 2007. At the time I was training in Adelaide and was becoming a little bit disillusioned with things, Gask said. I wasn't entirely enjoying my training, so the offer to move to England came at just the right time. Gask described his decade in England as the best thing ever to happen to me, as it reignited his passion for training and racing. He raised his young family in a village called Sutton Veny in Wiltshire, which just happens to be home to the largest number of Anzac war graves in the UK. From there, Gask made a success of his English foray, training more than 200 winners. His best horse was the brilliant Medicine Man, who ran at 7 Royal Ascot Carnivals in 8 years. Medicine Man ran down the track in the 2010 Wokingham Stakes, missed Royal Ascot the following year, but then ran there for the next 6 years. He contested the Group 1 King's Stand Stakes over 5 furlongs, 1,000 meters, from 2012 to 17, with his best result a close second to Goldrim in 2015. He also ran 4th twice. Medicine Man was an old marvel. Gask said, he was a once-in-a-lifetime horse. Remarkably, Medicine Man was one of the slowest 2-year-olds Gask ever trained, but that didn't stop the gelding developing into a world-class sprinter, winning 13 races and nearly the equivalent of $1.5 million in prize money. He competed at a high level in England, Ireland, France and the United Arab Emirates. Gask is fond of telling the story of the first time he sent Medicine Man to Dubai to race. At the World Cup meeting, his wife Kerry stood on the balcony of the hotel room, which overlooks the magnificent maiden racetrack, and burst into tears. That is what he means to us, or more specifically, what he has done for us, Gask said. At the time, Medicine Man made 5 trips to Dubai, winning 3 races there, including as an 11-year-old in January 2017, the final victory of the Geldings race, which Gask described as a career highlight. We retired him after Royal Ascot last year and he is doing some equestrian and dressage work now. He's enjoying life, Gask said. It was about this time last year that Gask's long-standing association with Sydney-based Abdullah eventually prompted the trainer to return to Australia. Gask had trained for Abdullah when he was in Adelaide, and the two men had kept in regular contact over the years before the opportunity arose for them to renew the professional relationship. Timing is everything, and once again Gask was ready to make the move, returning to Australia and setting up his training base on a property near Scone. Gask only has 2 horses in training but is building more boxes in his stable complex and hopes to eventually have about 20 in work in England. It is almost impossible to train out of your own property, Gask said, unless you are training the top horses for the top people owners. It is very hard to take the next step. You also find that often you have to sell any good racehorse that comes along, but by moving to Scone, I can have my family more involved and the lifestyle is great, except my family are wondering if it will ever rain from here. Scone, we can race in the country and provincials and travel to the city when we have the right horse. The highway concept is excellent and gives horses like Tim's Principal a chance to race for good prize money, Gask said. NSW Racing's prize money levels were the envy of many racing jurisdictions. You can race anywhere in country NSW for $20,000, but that is a good pot of money in England, Gask said. Some of the best open handicaps over there are run for that sort of money. In British racing, there is an ongoing battle for funding. The tote has just been bought by a private consortium which hopefully will generate some income for racing. The prize money in NSW is great for owners and was one of the main catalysts for coming to Scone. This reminded me of the time I covered the 2010 Royal Ascot Carnival, when Medicine Man competed, and was asked by legendary English trainers Sir Michael Souter and the late Sir Henry Cecil, of Frankel fame, about the Racefield's legislation case championed by Racing NSW's chief executive Peter Vlandis, which was going through the courts here at the time. You had better hope they, Racing NSW, win it. You could end up like us and be racing for buttons at most race meetings, Souter said. The Racefield's legislation case went all the way to the High Court, where Racing NSW won a unanimous verdict, ensuring at least $50 million per annum was injected into NSW racing, providing a blueprint for other racing jurisdictions and sporting bodies to follow worldwide. Gask, who remains an Adelaide Crows fan in the AFL, gained an appreciation of rugby union when he was living in England and is starting to follow the NRL and Newcastle Knights more closely now he is living in the Hunter. Revealed he was hoping some of his former English clients would invest in NSW racing. There are some friends of mine from England who are already racing horses in Australia and having a ball with the prize money they have won here, Gask said. I've found in Australia another big difference to England is that everyone you meet here seems to have a share in a racehorse. The prize money in NSW racing is a great advertisement for the sport, and I am hoping some of my English clients will look to get involved.